And welcome to 10 Ways to Make Your Email List Thrive. My name is Barry Williams. I'm the Digital Marketing Manager here at Circle. I've been working in marketing for about 10 years, doing everything from email lists to online advertising, coordinating more conferences than I can remember, most of them with the goal of driving email list growth, though.
And I'm Rachel Foles. I'm the Digital Marketing Director here at Circle, and I've been in marketing for 10 years, doing emails, social media, content creation, video development, and everything else that a marketer needs to do.
Yep.
So for those of you who don't know what Circle is, we provide AI-powered communications to organizations of all sizes. So we use the content that our clients are already producing, and our AI automatically curates and creates and delivers personalized content experiences for your audience on web, mobile, internet, and email.
Before we dive into our 10 tips, I wanted to go over some of the housekeeping items. We're going to do a formal Q&A at the end, but feel free to send questions as they come to you, and we'll work them into the presentation. So if you have a question, put it into the questions pane, which is going to be in the GoToWebinar panel that's on either side of your screen. We don't want this to be the typical webinar. We want it to be interactive, fun, so just keep those questions coming. And if you have any questions afterwards, you can always reach out to us. We'll share our contact info later, but you can also reach us on Twitter at Circle. All right, so now we're going to dive into the 10 tips, what we thought we would why your list needs some love, why it's so important, and why it's something you should be concentrating on.
Over 80% of marketers believe that email marketing will drive acquisition and retention. So we've had this same experience in our own marketing efforts here at Circle. Even though Circle does email as our product, we also use email marketing in our acquiring of customers. So no matter the age of your audience, the inbox is definitely the place to be. Mm-hmm.
Another stat that we loved was that 72% of people prefer to receive promotional content through email, compared to just 17% who prefer social media. This really counters the argument that we've been hearing for my entire career, at least, of that email is dead and that we need to move on from it. I think one of the reasons, at least personally, is that I like that I can get to emails when I can get to emails, and I can either move something to the trash or keep it in my inbox and get back to it later, where social, you pretty much have to react in the moment.
Right, and a lot of marketing, it's not really prepared for you to act in the moment, so email makes sense.
Mm-hmm. So as part of registering for this webinar, we asked you what your biggest list challenge was. The options were growth, low engagement, emails bouncing, list maintenance, and security. And we had 3 answers that were the most popular. There was an even split between growth and engagement, with 44.4% of the audience, and then 11.1% were interested in learning more about list maintenance. So the presentation today will be geared largely to these 3 main areas, but if you have any questions about security or email bounces, just ask them when you have them, or at the end of the webinar. We'll be reviewing them a little bit too.
So our first is, excuse me, wow, quite the start. Our first tip is something that you should really avoid in your marketing efforts. I hate to start with a negative or a no, but it's something we're really passionate here about at Circle. Do not buy lists. We have a variety of reasons. So it can be tempting to buy a list and cut to the good part where you have this massive list of thousands of people who can't wait for your next message, but purchase lists will not get you to your goal quicker. Email service providers hate purchase lists. They're full of bad emails and old data, and the people who receive them are not interested.
Yeah, and you'll find that it's against the terms of service often, so you could risk your relationship with your email list or your email provider. We've also found that purchase lists just hurt your email deliverability. When you think about it, it makes sense. Despite the assurances of the person from whom you bought the list, it's still a cold email at the end of the day. The person receiving it doesn't know you, doesn't know your company, and they didn't opt in for your communication. This leads them to not open, mark you as spam, unsubscribe from your list, and will really hurt your stats. We wanted to just gauge what you out there are doing, or if we're wrong, really. So we have our first poll, which is, have purchase lists had a positive impact on your email marketing? We'll give you a few seconds to answer this poll, and then we'll share the results with everybody. Great. Thank you, everyone, for participating. So I'll give you about another 5 seconds Not to tip our hat or anything, but the results are pretty close to what I was anticipating. So I think I'm going to close it now. Thank you very much to everyone. And so here are the results. No one said yes. There were 43% who said no, and then the other half of you said, or 57% that have never used one. So that might just be confirming what we thought, but I think it's interesting to see that that's a response across all of our attendees.
And I'm glad to see that in light of GDPR coming on May 25th, that's going to be something that's not going to be allowed under GDPR.
I wonder if we'll stop getting as many unsolicited emails to buy this.
Oh, that would be amazing.
I would love that.
So content upgrades, carefully considered, thematically relevant, and well promoted are a wonderful way to drive your email list growth. We'll go over a few of our favorite tips here. White papers are a great example of a premium piece of content that can be leveraged as an incentive to sign up for your list. These upgrades should be presented as extensions of the content that drew your audience to a particular post. So think about what you posted about and how you can give an extension in a white paper. Don't kind of throw one off from left field. Programs like Opt-in Monster can help you tie these upgrades to pop-ups on your site. The best content upgrades, I think, are beautifully presented checklists, tactic sheets, and infographics that offer information that they can only get from you. So if you're just Googling to make a white paper, they can Google too.
Yeah.
You know, it's got to be worth the email address.
I like to think about, for all of the content upgrades, kind of the next step from the reader or the consumer's perspective of, do you think this is something that people would share? Like, I know we recently put together that great GDPR checklist, and that's something that I liked a lot, and thought that you and our teammate Kayla who put it together did a great job, because I could see myself, if I weren't at Circle, forwarding that to colleagues so that we could make sure that we were going to be ready for GDPR when it comes out next month. Similar to white papers, access to relevant videos has a similar response, and it appeals to those who prefer video to learn new information over reading. It's just another way for you to deliver that information and make sure that your audience is able to learn everything that you would like them to learn.
Prizes are another great incentive and work both in person and online. So we'll hit this again later in the presentation, but you want to make sure the prize relates to your company. I know I would give my email address away to win an iPad, but that doesn't mean that I'd be the best lead for your product. So think about the prize matching the goal. Yeah, it's like with conferences as well. You want to make sure that it matches who you are as an organization, and that people will be able to associate it with your association with that prize. I know that the laptop I'm currently using for this presentation, I won at a conference. No idea what company it was from. So great prize for me, but they didn't really get much out of it, and even though I can't remember who they are, I'm sure I've unsubscribed from their email list by now. And not to be too winky-faced here, but webinars are another great way to demonstrate the quality of your services and provide real value to your potential audience. It's a win-win. At least I hope it's a win-win for everyone out there. So offering webinars is a way of giving your potential audience value in exchange for their contact information. I'm curious to see what our audience thinks of their favorite type of content upgrade. So I'm going to throw out a quick poll again with the options we just discussed, as well as another, or you can choose other. And if you have another option, please share it with us, and we can share it with the rest of the audience. Just put that in the questions pane, and I will share it with everybody. I'd love to see some new options in this space. It feels a little stagnated. Yeah, it feels. There's pretty much the big four. Right. And you try to do something creative. Great. All right. Thank you for those who have voted so far. I'll do 4 more seconds. All right. Great. We guys got somebody in under the door like Indiana Jones. Here are the results. Wow. So I know I'm not personally a video person, so it's interesting to see that 60% of our audience feels that video is their favorite content upgrade, with webinars and white papers trailing behind at 20%. The lack of prizes is interesting. Yeah. I guess it's also a difference between perspective of the potential prize recipient or the prize giver. So I think from the company perspective, it makes sense. Well, all of these are big resource takers, and you know, prizes take resources as well. So it's allocating your resources for the job. It's important. Definitely. All right. On pages that are not offering a webinar registration or other content upgrade, include a more personal invitation to join your list with some language reflecting the value of your email. So we'll cover some tips for opt-in forms.
I see that we just got a question.
Great.
Oh, thank you, Kimberly. So apparently our voices are being a little echoey and muffled. We just moved the microphone closer. So if that is helping, please let us know.
Sorry, Kimberly.
All right, we'll continue, and I will try to enunciate and project a little bit more as well.
So one great way to capture information is to create a standalone landing page that's entirely for lead capture. Your sign-up page should be simple and function great on any screen. This is a big deal to me. Ask for as little as possible to make it simple to say yes. So here in Wistia, they're asking for a little more than I would prefer to. Make it very, very simple. 2 fields, 1 field. If you only need the email, just ask for that. And be clear that they won't be paying to join your list. Sometimes the content you provide can be pretty valuable. And test this. Put multiple sign-up pages together, test them on different channels, and see, it could be the difference of font, color, box style. All of those things you should test to get the optimized version of your standalone landing page.
Another option that we like are popover opt-ins. They exist above your content and prompt your audience to sign up for more information. It's a great way to prompt your visitors to provide information while still showing them the content, so it's the content sitting behind it. I know we trigger ours so that they go up after 20 seconds. That way people are able to start absorbing your content. You know that they're not going to just quickly bounce from the page either, so this shows that they're interested. But as with everything else you're doing, testing is going to be key here. There's no opt-in strategy that will work for everyone, and you must learn what is best for your particular audience and your goals.
And I liked in this one in particular, they bold what you get, knowing that marketers are a little suspect of these things, that it's 49 pages and 77 charts. That's a clear benefit, and it's communicated well.
I also like the social proof at the end, join the 545,000, letting you know that this is a resource that's important in the industry.
There are multiple places you can test opt-in forms on your site. We'll walk you through a few of them, and you see them here on your screen. So the pop-up comes over the content. We do 20 seconds as the delay. Like Barry mentioned, like it feels like sometimes you go to a website and they hit you with a popover before you've had time to digest even the summary. The flying comes in from the bottom corner. Below post shows up in the area after your content. And then inline shows up as the content continues, maybe 1/3 or halfway through. Try a few, see what works best for your site and audience. I think every audience is a little bit different and their tolerance of these.
Yeah, and I think it also would depend on the goal for the organization. So I could see pop-up being for more important messaging, trying to convert people, where something below the post would be good for a content upgrade maybe, or something that it's less vital for you to get that information right in front of their face.
I like the inline, especially if it's tied with interest data. So if it knows that I'm on a certain kind of article and it presents me other articles, it goes well with my goldfish attention span.
So as you may have heard, organic social media, particularly on Facebook, has become increasingly difficult for organizations. Despite the recent algorithm changes, though, there are still a lot of great ways to bring your audience from your organic social channels into your email list. We recently did a webinar all about this topic, and we'll be sharing the link after today's webinar so that you can see what we shared there. There'll also be links to an article about it.
2 articles.
2 articles. I forgot that you split that in half.
Yeah,
It's a lot of content.
It was a lot.
So this is a fairly simple first step, but you'd be surprised how often people don't set up their page to include the sign up button. To do this, you just have to click on the add a button below your page's cover photo when you're logged in as an admin. Select a button from the drop-down menu and fill out any required information. Then you'll just click add button, and now you have a way for people who are visiting you on Facebook to join your email list.
And you'll also see this call to action sometimes in the ad types you run on Facebook.
Yes.
So it's very valuable. On Twitter, you can activate your followers with a campaign to drive signups. A quick and easy and free thing to do is to add a link to your email signup on your Twitter bio. I love how they did them here. I think they're super cute. I like Consensus better because you actually can do it from the bio. The bio will appear in surprisingly a lot of places. If your link is too long, throw it in Bitly. Something we did here, we made our own Bitly, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, so we were able to buy the URL circle.in. I thought it was cute because it's circle in, but we were able to connect that with our Bitly account for free. I think you can do up to 500 links through Bitly with your custom URL on the free tier of Bitly, which is great. So if you're not at the scale above 500 yet, you can just start trying this now just for the cost of registering a domain.
And it gives you access to some tracking statistics as well, right?
So if you want some statistics outside of your Google Analytics or your Facebook Insights, it's a good way of getting to know more about your audience. So another way is to capture leads from viewed content. At Circle, our clients are able to house their content on their Circle content archive. This is basically where all of their stories are, and when people visit their content archive from their social networks, they are prompted to sign up for the newsletter with this Popover form. It's nice and simple one, has a cute dog. I appreciate cute animal photos more than anyone, but it's great we found for our media companies, nonprofits, and basically anyone who's trying to drive their social audience to the newsletter. One thing to Rachel's earlier point that I really love here is it's just asking for the email address. So you can always find out more later. I suggest kind of minimizing the friction to joining your list for your audience. We've been using this lately for the internal communications and employee engagement space with a newsletter we started called Internal Comms Pro, which offers content from a wide variety of internal communication sources and gives that information to people who are working in that space.
Offering exclusive content is another great way to get your audience involved with your organization. Everyone loves to learn for free, especially if you're a thought leader or somebody who knows a lot about a space. So offering content like downloadable guides or webinars on your social channels is a great way to interact with your audience. Once again, I'm like the mobile police. Make sure that your landing page is optimized for mobile, since more than half of Facebook users only use mobile. So when they land, they're going to expect that. Something else that you could do with your landing pages, you can do them like an AMP. And Twitter has AMP, and as does Facebook. That's accelerated mobile pages. It makes them appear beautifully on mobile in a format that you control, but still they deliver better. Yeah. They link better. It looks great.
And I think you're starting to see in the slides that a lot of these strategies work well together and build off of one another. So creating something like the Pulse of Donor Relations event and then gating that is a good way of using both of those strategies to maximize your list growth. I'm curious about our audience's view on organic reach. It might be a little bit of a leading question, but have you noticed a drop in your organic reach on social channels lately? Your options are yes, no change, no, it's actually better. Wow, okay. So far, 100% yes. I'm going to give you about another 5 seconds, and then we'll close the poll and share the results, although I just gave a little bit of a
I know, spoiler, Barry.
I'm sorry.
He didn't warn you guys.
Have you seen The Sixth Sense? Because I will blow you away about the ending of that. All right, poll's closing. So 86% of the audience has noticed the drop. No change. I wish I was in that 14%. And no respondents to say that it's actually better now.
I think we all knew this was coming for about 10 years. We were just waiting for it.
Yeah, the model was getting us all addicted, and now we have to pay for it. So the other side of the social media coin is paid social, and it's becoming increasingly important with organic reach dropping. I know it's playing a much larger role in our acquisition strategies, or even just to get our messages out there, let people know about our most recent blog posts. So it's becoming more and more important, and the budgets are increasing accordingly.
I think digital outspends TV now.
Oh, wow, I haven't read that stat. That's pretty amazing. Yeah. So Facebook, we're having a bit of a slide issue. There we go. So lead ads, I think, are a great way of doing this, and we're using it as part of that internal comms pro strategy we were discussing earlier. You see two examples on the screen right now. The left one is one of our ads for internal comms pro on Facebook, and the two on the right are representative of ads from LinkedIn, just to show you that the different tools that exist out there. What I really like about these is that the call to action has people directly sign up. It can integrate directly with your CRM, or it can just populate a spreadsheet and you can manually enter people into your list. So it's just a great way of just simplifying the process and really getting them in there and speaking to them where they're at. One thing that we're doing a lot of is testing different iterations of art and language to make sure that we're, one, speaking to our potential clients in their own language in a way that they find appealing, but two, lowering our cost per lead, making sure our ads are very relevant to the audience. So it's a continual learning process.
So whenever we put in a lead ad, we're looking at maybe 3 to 5 different art versions and maybe 2 different versions of language. And every time we're winnowing down to the ultimate one, which right now, is that the ultimate one?
It still is. We're also currently testing a carousel ad. We went into depth on this in the last webinar, but carousel ads are kind of what they sound like. You can have multiple images in them, which we found have worked really well with some of our content promotion, and now we're trying it with our lead ads.
So I've interacted with the lead ad as a consumer, and I really enjoyed the workflow as well. So I think it's the intersection of usability and also your desire to get that lead. It works really well. Running ads for contests is a great way to gain subscribers and drive them to your website to get their contact information. But it becomes a lot more difficult, like Barry mentioned, to separate the possible prize people from the people just looking to get that Target gift card from the people who actually are interested in your business. So when your prize aligns with your organization and the audience and you kind of hit that sweet spot, this is one from Allen County Public Library. They're a Circle client, and they did blind date with a book with a local coffee shop where somebody had to show up and say, I think they just had to say blind date. I'm here for my blind date, which is super cute. Was it on Valentine's Day? Because it'd be even better if it was. And then they got a free coffee and they won the contest. I think that's a really great intersection of those two ideas.
Yeah, it's like the public-private partnership there too, and bringing the whole community in together. I think it was a really smart way of engaging their audience and making sure that they're delivering real, actionable value that relates to the library.
I hang out at that coffee shop. Looks cool.
It does.
Friendly Fox.
So, like I mentioned, a huge chunk of my career has been in the events and conference space, and I still think that's a wonderful way to increase your leads, although I know I've definitely had moments where I've been sitting in an exhibit hall during sessions and think, why am I just sitting in one spot waiting for people to talk to me? But one stat that I love, and I think is illustrative of the fact that there's still a lot of value in this space, is that 81% of trade show attendees have buying authority. So you might have fewer conversations. It's not going to be something where you throw out an ad and instantly thousands of people see it. But the person you're speaking to, she might have the ability to make the decision to purchase your product when she gets back to her office. And I think it's just a really powerful way of ramping that up. So the first tip is really just to take advantage of these opportunities. Going to conferences and networking events are great ways of expanding your personal network, increasing your leads, and staying up to date in your industry. I think that last point is very important because it's so easy to get siloed, have a tunnel vision with your job. So going out there and speaking to other professionals in your field just makes you better at your job. So when looking for conferences to attend, I like to suggest that you find one that aligns with your organization's goals. So are you looking to get the most leads possible, just come back with a list of hundreds and hundreds of people? If you're doing that, I'd say look for a conference where exhibiting is a major focus and that there are going to be thousands of attendees. By major focus, I mean ones where they integrate programming into the exhibit hall. So that breakfast first thing in the morning in the exhibit hall. I've been to ones where they set up bars in the hall or in the aisles. That way people have a little bit of social lubricant, and then they are lingering around your table, and it's just makes that conversation start more readily. But if you're looking to be part of the conversation and establish yourself as a thought leader, I like to suggest going to a smaller, more intimate conference. We've been to a lot lately that are in that 60 to 100 range, and they've been really great opportunities for our co-founders to speak directly with leaders in the industry establish a one-on-one relationship and really to get the most out of the networking and presenting opportunities. So final in-person conference tip for you. Make sure you attend the conference networking events. I know it can be exhausting exhibiting all day.
It really is.
Well, especially one thing I always hated was the thinnest carpet in the world over hard concrete, and you're on your feet all day. So it's so tempting to want to just go up to your hotel room when you have that chance and just flee. But so much of the business is done at the networking events. So go, be open, enjoy speaking with people. You'll eventually make it back to your hotel room for that decompression and be able to put your feet up.
Yeah. So when you're at the conferences, you want to make it easy for attendees to join the list. Offer the sign up at your booth, of course, with an iPad, or maybe you like Springford the lead retrieval system. Many conferences offer them. I think they're usually $400 to $500. One thing I don't like when I'm at a conference as an attendee and as a presenter, I don't like drive-by scanning. And that's like when you're walking down the exhibit hall and like vendors start popping out of nowhere and scan you. That feels very aggressive. I think that these interactions, even just the one as simple as adding them to your list, should really be an intro to your brand and the way that you're going to operate.
Yeah, I've never fully understood it as a sales or marketing technique anyway, because you're going to get a ton of email addresses, great, but are they quality? And so I've always used the conversation as a qualifying event. And so I know after talking to you at the booth that what I'm offering would be of use to you. You are a potential customer or member, whatever your organization's goals are, and then we'll get to the scanning ritual. But there's no reason to just hop right into it. I always hated seeing those people just, here, take my pen, and then quickly scanning and then moving on to the next person.
That's very, I don't like it at all.
Yeah.
And when you're out, when you're the person out there shopping, it does not make you want to come back and have an interaction with somebody.
Yeah.
I'm always looking for someone who's open, low key, but interested.
Yeah, a smile is a lot more, a lot easier of a doorway for me than somebody running up to me.
Absolutely.
I also, just from the conference exhibitor perspective, always felt like they made everyone else's job worse because they were out there making everyone defensive. Yeah. And then my job was to try to kind of smooth things over a little bit and get them to actually talk to me because they knew I wasn't going to accost them.
Yeah, you don't want to be adjacent to that booth.
No. Sorry, we're having one little slide issue. There we go. This tip is near and dear to my heart, but make sure that when you're not using any of the technological tools that are available to watch the handwriting. I used to work in the scientific space, and a lot of what people say about doctors' handwriting is 100% true. So I had to ask many a times whether that was an A or an E, an R or a V. And then you don't need to be afraid to ask these clarifying questions though, because it's another opportunity to show that you care, to show that you want to get them the information and to have a little bit more conversation.
So people and organizations have networks that are ready to be leveraged to deliver valuable content. And we're going to talk about the best ways to leverage your network and the network of others. So we are so lucky to have Sarah Jackson, and she's one of our co-founders, and she has spent a lot of time, masterfully cultivating relationships, providing great value in her social posts and her interactions. So she has a ready audience who listens to what she has to say. This is something that you can do it yourself, or actually look for people in your organization that naturally have these leverageable, is that a word, Barry?
It feels like a word.
Okay, personal brands. So we have a question. Do you have teammates share your messages from your org on social media?
This is a simple yes or no. So just quickly give us your answer. I'd be curious to see what else people are doing out there. Aha. Seeing a lot of yeses.
Barry, spoiler.
Oh, maybe we're also seeing some no's. See, it's created an air of mystery. About 4 more seconds, then we're going to close the poll and share the results. Great, thank you, everybody. Here are the results. 3/4 of you, yes. 25% no. I don't think the no's need to beat themselves up though. So if it's not appropriate for your organization, or you don't have that person who has the network that's best for it, then don't do it. There's no reason to annoy your personal friends if you're not going to be giving them value.
Right.
And I think that's one of the important things about Sarah, is that her network is valuable, and she doesn't just she's not just a megaphone for circle messaging. She provides a lot of other value to them. And this is just one of the things, and she has a lot of friends that would be interested in an event like that.
I think she does a good job of determining what would be appropriate for the audience. She knows her audience.
Yes. I also like to suggest that you encourage social sharing from your audience. This is a good example from the Skim where they have just the simple logos at the bottom of the message saying, Facebook, Twitter, and share email, but it's a way of, one, increasing your email marketing stats, which I like, but also just spreading your message further. Yeah, I think it's just a nice, easy way to share it with it. I think you should make sure to have it in both the email and on the other side when they get to your content.
For sure.
That way, once they realize how much value you've added to them, that they can then share it with their network. So working with influencers in adjacent industries is a mutually beneficial way for both of you to tap into each other's networks. I say adjacent because you don't necessarily want to work with a competitor,
No.
But if you have a complementary relationship with an organization, it's a great thing to do.
Or if you believe in the value they provide.
Mm-hmm. So you're both able to promote your collaborative project, tap into the power of your combined network, and really increase the message. The first step to do this is to identify influencers.
When is our Grumpy Cat webinar?
I'm working on it.
Okay.
I'm trying to see if Grumpy Cat will get along with either of my cats and they can co-host. The first step is really just to find these people. So some resources that I like are BuzzSumo, and Forbes puts together this great annual influencers list, which is where I found the 3 influencers in front of us. I will be sharing a link to the influencers list after today's webinar when you get the archive and slides and everything. But pictured here are Melinda Emerson, who's a small business influencer, Tim Ferriss, a famous entrepreneur, is on the right, and then Grumpy Cat, of course, in the middle, who was listed, I believe, at number 6 for pet influencers online.
I'm surprised that there is a more influential pet. Something else beyond the internet search would be looking for these influencers at events that you're at.
Mm-hmm.
You'll notice them because they're the ones that everyone's standing around after they speak.
Yes, they've got the little flotilla of humans as they go down the hall.
Yeah, I think that making those connections at conferences with influencers that you meet is really important. Mm-hmm. That's another kind of beyond just getting leads, is also identifying those influencers in the wild, if you will.
Yes. Yeah, the BuzzSumo tip earlier, I'm going to expand on a little bit because it's similar to what you were saying. But BuzzSumo finds stories based on topics that are the most shared. So it gives you all of the sharing statistics and readership. So when you look at that, I would suggest reaching out to people who have the most shared articles, because you know that they have an audience in the area that you're interested in, and they may be able to get some value out of either co-presenting a webinar, doing a piece with you. There's a lot of different ways you can approach people.
So if the topic fits, utilizing a well-networked co-presenter can be really mutually beneficial. Like Barry mentioned, you want to make sure that they share the webinar with their audience on web, social, and email to make it worth both of your time. Mm-hmm. I think that, this is something that as we progress, as Circle progresses, this is something we're looking at more and more to find the right fit for these type of co-presenters.
Yeah, I think it's also just nice to have a diversity of viewpoints and opinions and knowledge.
Absolutely.
Kind of next level step to the co-presented webinar, it would be to hold a virtual summit. So these are 1 or multiple day online events, all fully online, so you can save a lot of money on the logistics, which is nice. But you can invite multiple influencers to present in the virtual summit and be able to tap into all of their networks, and so with this one, it would be 9 people helping you promote instead of 2. And then everyone can have access and increase their networks from the collective. It's kind of like we were talking yesterday, Captain Planet, when their powers combine.
We're really dating ourselves.
Oh, you don't think people know that I was a kid in the 90s?
So what happens once you do get the subscriber? You've done all this work, you finally got them, you got the email address, celebration. Now it's time to roll out the welcome mat and some top-notch content to get them excited.
So your welcome email, speaking of welcome mat, is really your first opportunity to establish tone and expectations with your audience. You don't want to waste this opportunity. So if you promised an incentive to join your lists, maybe it was on a Facebook ad as one of the premium pieces of content, this is where you're going to be delivering it. You're going to prove that you can be trusted, that you are an organization of your word. It's simple, but I like to suggest thanking them for signing up, being part of your community now. And if possible, if you feel it's appropriate, ask your subscribers to add your email address to their contact list. This will help make sure that your email is not going to land in a promotions tab or even worse, in spam. So it can definitely be worth the ask to make sure that your content gets in front of the people.
But you need to respect that designation. And one of the ways you can do that is by providing value and saving time. So if you're asking them to say it's cool to email you and to make sure that it comes in their inbox, you got to make sure the emails that arrive are really personable and relevant, that they match what you're trying to say and what they want to hear from you.
Okay. So list maintenance is going to be our 10th area of exploration for how to make your email list thrive. So we've done a lot of work on how to build up your email list, but I think it's just as important to make sure that your list is healthy, that you keep a good deliverability you keep your deliverability score high.
Well, no, I mean, you're aiming for the sky.
Oh, thank you. That was well done. And avoid being marked as spam. List maintenance can feel like a bit of a mystery, but it's super manageable once you learn the basics of it. Before we get started, though, I'm curious to see what you out there are doing for list maintenance. And so just curious about the frequency. How often do you perform your list maintenance? Options are weekly or more frequently for our eager list maintainers out there. Monthly, quarterly, annually, or never. All right, answers are coming in, and I'm not going to tip the hat, but I will say we're seeing a diversity of answers here.
Ooh, very diverse.
I know.
Much diverse.
All right, how about 5 more seconds, then we'll close. It looks like we still have a few people who are looking to participate. All right, 100%. Thank you all very much. So here are the results. No one's at the weekly or more frequently.
Ain't nobody got time for
no,
that.
I threw that in there mostly because if there was that overeager person out there, I wanted him or her to feel that they were represented in the poll. But
no, I think it was a trap, Harry. That was a trap question.
No, sorry. But we have 29% at monthly, also 29% at quarterly, annual 14%, and never at 29%.
So how frequently do you prefer to perform your list maintenance?
I would say that I'm probably in the sporadic to quarterly.
Okay.
What about you?
I'm team quarterly.
Okay.
Calendar.
Yeah, I'm not good about the count. I need to add a calendar reminder to do it. It's more of the, oh no, I haven't done it in like 2 months, 2 or 3 months. Should I go do it now?
Yep.
And then I knock it out. I also think it's kind of a good, my brain's tired task.
I agree.
And then I can just go forward with it.
It's a nice quiet flow moment.
Yes.
When you need them.
Let's dive into how to actually do this now, though.
So on the screen, you'll see the difference between a hard bounce and a soft bounce. Email bounces are generally when your message is not delivered. So you've got the bounce back and it's like, this message is not delivered. But there are 2 different versions, hard bounce, soft bounce. A hard bounce indicates that the message was not delivered because the email address is invalid or does not exist. A soft bounce could indicate that the mailbox is full, the server was down, or that you had a message that was too large for the inbox. Maybe it had words that the spam server would not accept. So it's really important to know what to do with each instance.
Mm-hmm. So soft bounces are really a great place to add human eyes. Look for typos in the emails that you caught. And this is where the gamble comes in. So
Yeah,
Gmail
I've been
versus
gambled before.
Yep.
And Yahoo.
Sounds like a wise owl.
Yeah.
Needs email.
At Yahoo.
Yep. Have bounces come to a monitored email address, which I think is super important. That way you're able to see them come through. I know I like to have mine auto filter so I don't get super anxious by 100 unread emails after I send out a campaign, but it's really all about your flow. And then I also used to keep paper records of everything back when I was doing a lot more conferences. And we didn't have the iPad yet. I had a paper printout and I would keep every single one for when I got bounces so I could flip through and find the person and see if it was an R or a V problem. So just something to consider to keep good records. One secret tip that I like is that when you have the emails coming in, or the bounces coming to a monitored address, it can actually help with some things like sales opportunities. So I've definitely seen it where an email bounces because a person left, and then you're able to go to reach out to her successor, just be like, oh, I saw that Rachel's no longer working with your organization. We were talking about X. So it's a slightly less cold email version of just reaching out to people, having a little bit of an in, and using that foothold to move forward with the sales process.
And if you're not in a sales opportunity, it's also a way of saying, Rachel enjoyed getting these messages from us about this, this, and this. Would you like me to put you on the email list in place of her?
Yeah.
So before you delete entirely, double check the emails. If you've been marked as spam or one of your delivery methods are faulty, that's what that hard bounce is going to be. I've seen lots of gamble on Yahoo, like Barry mentioned. These mistakes are really easy to fix. Sometimes also a hard bounce could be a long-term maternity leave. I've seen a hard bounce from that. The human error aspect or spam.
Yeah.
Now, if you get flagged as spam, that's about your email list as a whole. That's a good time to use the spam checker to see what your deliverability rate is as well.
Back when I used to work with a lot more academic clients, I'd always get the hard bounce for sabbaticals because they were gone for a long period of time. And 6 months from when they got the email, they would have been great people to contact, but it's just a good way for us keeping current on our records.
Yeah, I do like having the email bounces come back because it gives me a better pulse on what's going on with my list. So even though it's a hassle, it's worth it.
Then I think it's just important to give your users a choice. So give them options to pare back content when users click unsubscribe. One thing that I really love that we do at Circle for our customers is automatically adjust this frequency for them. So when we notice that people are tapering back their interest in a certain newsletter, they'll eventually start having their emails come to them less frequently. So you might be set up on daily emails from the internal comms pro, but sometimes it's hard to get to your email. So we'll start stepping it back to maybe twice a week and then weekly. And then our algorithm automatically figures out what's best for you as an audience member. So you're still getting the content you want, but you're not as overwhelmed by having so much stuff in your email.
Well, that's going to save you unsubscribes as well.
Yeah, no, it's great from both perspectives. A few things that you can give them options are like frequency, which we were just talking about. Content, I know I would love to have the ability to tell my college what content I actually want.
Sing it, dude, for real.
Fordham University is not a sports school. I don't need to have information about our subpar basketball teams, but they send it nonetheless. Timing, layout, language are all things you can do. I think the stat is that 49% of email newsletter unsubscribes are because people receive too many.
I'm surprised that's not higher.
I know it's my primary reason.
Yes.
I've never really unsubscribed from a newsletter for any other reason.
So your stale members, people who haven't been very active, make sure you engage them again. Give them a series of emails who've not opened to those who have not opened or clicked or read your recent emails. You want to give them options to personalize or dial back the amount of emails you're sending to them until you get that perfect point where you reestablish the two-way relationship. You don't want to lose them, but you want to get with them on their own terms.
And those were our 10 tips. If you're interested in speaking with one of our engagement specialists to see if Circle would help you with your email engagement, you can do that by going to circle.com/demo or emailing sales@circle.com.
So does anyone have any questions? We have one question that came up in the pane earlier. It says, what is the best Circle URL to share when giving handouts at a conference? That's a great question. Thank you for asking. That's from one of our Circle clients. I would suggest making a landing page with our subscriber plugin to any URL that you would determine. And you could even do event-specific URLs. So if you're going to an academic conference and its letters are XYL, you would be your URL XYL conference, and that would give them the place to sign up. That'll help you also track the signups and the efficacy of your conference efforts.
Yeah. So this is a question. I believe it's related to having your staff post on their own social channels, but it's how often should they post about news and events? I feel like this is going to get the classic answer of it depends.
It really does depend. If you're talking about in your email, I think finding out what your audience wants and how frequently they want to hear from you is key to starting that. On your social channels, they all have different best practices. For the longest time, it was barely post, and it was post 17 times a day. Now it's back to only post quality and not quantity. So those strategies continue to shift as changes come with the algorithms. But I would say just make sure it is worthwhile content, that the events are well thought of and well presented.
Yeah, you don't want your staff to alienate their friends or have created negative brand association.
Oh, I'm sorry, you mean share. I like the Venn diagram of the things that your org does, the things you're interested in, and then the middle are the things that your people are interested in. Think about the things that your org does that the people that you have on your social channels would be interested in.
Great. The next question kind of combines two of our points. So she says, I know you don't suggest purchasing a list, but what about contacting people from the list you would obtain at the end of a conference? So all conference attendees, not necessarily who you're speaking with. I'm all for it, to be perfectly honest. I mean, it's not as cold as just purchasing a list of all, I don't know, internal communications professionals aged 35 to 44 in the Midwest, because these are people who maybe at least walked by your booth, saw you in the schedule as a presenter. They know that they were at the conference, and that's a good way of starting the conversation. And this might sound a little crass, but I honestly forget half of the vendors I talk to at a conference, so they may just think that they forgot who you were.
None of that surprises me. It surprises me when I get 25 emails leading up to the conference from one vendor and then none after. That's always very surprising. I don't mind the post-conference outreach.
No,
myself.
Usually I know we use it as an opportunity to give people added value based upon the subject from the conference. So that's where we would say, we have this great checklist to help you prepare for GDPR, or if it was about GDPR, but just a great way of starting or continuing a conversation. So back to Facebook.
Yeah.
Definitely an issue a lot of us are considering. After the Facebook algorithm change, should we be considering new channels?
So I think the channels that you should be considering are the ones that you can successfully feed and implement. It would be very easy to add new channels, but long term, you have to think about the content that you have available to you, the content you're willing to produce, the audiences and the gains. It's really all about return on investment. So you should never get involved in we have to have a presence on we have to have a Snapchat. Well, is the Snapchat right for your audience? Well, in Circle's case, it's not, because this isn't really a visual business in particular. But if it was, then maybe that makes more sense. So think about it all the way around. Don't add new channels willy-nilly.
No.
We use, for our business, we use Circle, of course, our website, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn.
Yes, and I would say in terms of the mix for us, we are currently exploring a little bit heavier of a LinkedIn strategy. No real results from that yet, but I think it goes back to the test idea. See if something's not working for you, maybe you can move a little bit of your Facebook ads budget to another place that you think your audience would be, that you don't fear having to feed the channel too much, and that hopefully will give you better results. All right. We have one more social question and then two more questions total. So if anyone else has any questions, please feel free to share them. I think we have a few more minutes remaining. This one is about Facebook. Social generally, do non-lead ads help grow your email list? It's a good question, because I know the lead ads have that specific, that's part of the mechanism. It's why they exist. But I think yes, just in a few ways. I know we were talking about the carousel ads as a means of doing a lead ad, but I think there's applications for all of the other ads.
I think if you present the information that happens after they click on the ad, or the call to action on the ad to join the email list, and when they land on the page that you're advertising, you have your pop-ups, your popovers, whatever you decide to give for your opt-in, and that opt-in is written specifically to the audience, then I think that it can help you grow your email list, but that's not going to be the main benefit. Those kind of ads are about traffic and not about email acquisition. If your goal is email acquisition, you would want to rethink that.
All right, so one more question. And this one is about the exact opposite of social media, in my
All
opinion.
right.
So do you have any tips for hosting an in-person event for lead generation? Great question. And I think it's one of those questions that I'm going to start with. It depends and then go into more detail, but really depends on your organization. So I know we've done a few events here. One of the big things about Circle that we built into the product and pretty much everything we do is that creating value aspect. So this was one of the events was basically bringing in a lot of people who are working in the blogging industry and are looking to increase the size of their audience and just learn best practices, talk to one another. So it was a fairly informal event. We had some catering, but the means of growing the list was we had people sign up like we would with a webinar. We had people sign in so that way we could see how engaged they were with the overall topic. And we were just able to increase our local list of bloggers through that. And I think it kind of tied in a lot of the other elements though. So I said it was the opposite of social, but it's not.
Right.
Because we brought in social media channels. There were ads, we had
Surveys.
Sarah was going out and letting people know I was going, work with local groups. So I think use everything that's available to you.
One of the startup kind of mindset things is starting with the goal in mind. And so defining the goal in the beginning will help everyone go towards the same goal. If you define that at the beginning of planning an event, that the true goal is valuable lead generation, that will shape how you market the event, the registrations that you try to get, the visuals, the name, all of that will need to be reflected. So I would say start as you mean to go and make sure everyone knows the big goal.
All right, well, thank you all very, very much for joining us today. We will be following up with the archive video and the slides and a few of the resources we mentioned throughout the webinar. And we just really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thanks, bye.